Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of React Roundup. I am your host today, Paige Niedringhaus, and I am joined by my esteemed panelists, Jack Harrington.
Hey, Paige.
And TJ Van Tol.
Hey, everybody.
And our special guest today is Levan Katsadze. Welcome, Levan.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
So, Levan, we are very glad to have you on the show today, and we would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners and tell us why you're famous and what we're going to be talking about today.
I don't think I'm kind of very much famous, but yeah, maybe I'm getting there. I don't know.
I like that. Everybody's always like, I'm not famous. He's like, yeah, maybe someday.
Yeah. So I am a software developer, mainly focused on React.js. My strongest skills are React, TypeScript, JavaScript, CSS, CSS, and such kind of things. I have about small experience in software development, working experience, like 2 or 2.5 years of experience. I want to say that I am still very young in the profession of software development. I don't think I have enough competence and enough knowledge to talk about software topics, but I guess I can talk about my experience with creating Blockman and my road from zero to building something useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 2.5 years is, I think that's probably not too far off from a lot of people who are getting into the web development space now. So we'd love to hear did you have a first career before this?
I was a software tester for about a year. And
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think it's a good starting point for folks, actually.
Yeah, kind of led you into it.
Yeah, you get an understanding of like what engineers look like, how they work and all that stuff, and then you're like, you get into it, and you're like, oh, okay, I think I could do this now. That's cool. Sure. Well, you mentioned Blockman. What is Blockman?
Yeah, basically, Blockman is a VS Code extension. It's a visual helper for developers, and it helps us to perceive and understand code structure more quickly and more quickly. It took me about 6 months to build, and the process is still continuing. I continue maintaining and fix some bugs, and also with the help of community. Community actually helped me so much with some great ideas, some cool ideas, some pull requests, and so on. And
awesome!
I'm really happy that many people find Blockman useful and many people love it, and I also love it, and I'm very happy about that.
So for the users who have not downloaded or tried out Blockman yet, how would you describe it to them and kind of give them an idea of what it is and why you might want to use it in your development toolkit?
Basically it is a helper for our eyes, and I think it helps with the creativity. It helps with to do the job and to focus on certain blocks easier. You don't have to search for opening bracket and closing bracket. Where's this bracket? Where's this bracket? And mind just blows away. Yeah. So Blockman is just very simple idea, and it just works.
Yeah. Been there, done that with the bracket balancing and stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's hard to describe through like having an audio medium, right? Where text based. It's something like if you see an image of this extension, in like a half second what this does.
Yeah.
But like describing it is kind of hard. But the name kind of says it all, because it basically quite literally draws blocks or boxes around your nesting levels, which like immediately resonated with me. And I think any software developer can understand the problem, because if you're working on an app at scale, you're going to have at least some of your code that turns into just a nested mess, right? And you're 6 levels deep on line 272, and you're like, crap, am I in the
And the
if?
opening bracket
Am I-
is on like 170.
Yeah.
You get
Right.
5
Yeah.
pages
Which function
away.
am I in?
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
function am I in? Am I in a function? Am I in a loop? Like you lose all context. So this extension just draws a square around your current scope. So you can easily just visually see, oh, okay, this is the block
Yeah,
I'm in, which is
and
super cool.
yeah, and not just square. It is very flexible. If it's impossible to draw square, it changes shape in certain way. In it tries to change in proportion.
Really? Oh, okay. I got to check that out. That's neat. Okay.
Well, I think that TJ kind of just gave us the reasoning for why Blockman might be useful, but I'm really interested in how you built it because VS Code extensions are awesome. I love them. I use lots of them. I have never once thought about how to build my own. So I'd love to hear how that process works.
Yeah, actually, me and also many people noted that why on earth this was not already available? Why not everyone
Yeah.
already created it? Because I think it's very natural to build such kind of tool. I think so. So when I started building on Blockman, well, actually I was in my first job and I had only about 3 years of work experience. I was very unexperienced and I barely could know. My coding skills were very almost zero. And but when I was working in VS Code in my first job, and I was searching brackets and brackets and brackets, I thought that there should be something, some kind of helper for this. I was almost sure that there was some kind of extension because VS Code has thousands of extensions, right? So maybe there was an extension, or I was almost sure that it would be somewhere in the settings or options or somewhere in the VS Code, but I could not find it anywhere. I just Googled it, and I also could not find it in other software as well. Actually, I found one software. It's called BlueJ. Maybe you heard about that. It's a
BlueJ.
yeah, it's
Oh.
BlueJ software. It's a Java editor. I guess it's Java
Hmm.
editor. And BlueJ basically, I discovered that BlueJ basically does what I wanted. It draws squares and rectangles in the code blocks, and but the thing was that it was not on the VS Code, and also it was very limited. It was low quality. It had many bugs and some visual artifacts, and it was far from my imagination of how it could be made. Yeah. So I decided why not make it myself.
There you go.
even,
Nice.
even,
Yes. That's the
even
way you do
though
it.
even though I had very little experience with creating VS Code extensions, so I just started doing very simple initial things like searching YouTube how to create Blockman VS Code extension.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very good start always. It's
Yeah.
always a good start. Yeah, I found some some tutorials, some textual and video tutorials, and after many months, and after so much struggle and so much debugging and struggle, I finally reached the finish line. But also, history is very, very interesting here. I think so because at some point, after several weeks, at some point, I discovered that VS Code had certain limitation that it was impossible to, in some situations, it was impossible to draw many blocks in the UI of VS Code. So it was basically I was going to give up, and so it was impossible to build Blockman. So I thought about it for several days, and I decided to post a feature request on VS Code GitHub repo. So I posted it. I asked them to please, implement this or change this behavior. So it's not such kind. It will not such kind of limitation. And after several days, it turned out that it was not. It was a bug of VS Code.
Oh,
So
there you go.
So they
Nice.
basically thanked me, and they fixed it pretty soon, and I was happy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what are the actual? How did you actually build the Blockman for VS Code? Is it written in JavaScript? Is it written in some other coding language? Like, how do
It's
you go about, or how do you test it? Also, how do you test it locally as you're building this thing?
Yeah, it's I built it with TypeScript, which is superset of JavaScript, right?
Hmm.
It's just TypeScript, and I VS Code, building extension environment has is testing features, so I could test it in my local environment, and also it's easy to build it and publish it, and yeah, it's not hard, it's easy, but all I had to do was to just sit down and work on it. Yeah.
I'm very curious about the actual algorithm you're using here because to me it's kind of fascinating, and we don't have to go like too deep, but does VS Code expose things like, are you getting like access, like how do you paint a box, right? Because you have to get like VS Code has to tell you like characters, or is it like is it like something like Canvas? Like I'm just sort of fascinated that this is even
Mhm.
possible, honestly.
Yeah, actually, creating like advanced HTML elements is limited in VS Code, but basic HTML boxes is permissible. So they are just simple div boxes, right? Simple div boxes with some border radius and borders and so on. But it's not as easily stylable as in simple CSS. It has some it's strange ways to do it. You can see it in the source code. So basically, about the algorithms, first, Blockman was very unoptimized, very slow. It sometimes frees the entire UI. The process was going like over like many months. So when I tested it every day, I lived with it like almost 24/7. I lived with it. I was working inside it almost every day, and I almost felt the entire code, and I almost felt where was the issue, where was the problem, and somehow I didn't have much experience with writing algorithms. I had some training in LeetCode website and HackerRank website, but not so much. Actually, I'm basically
Self-taught.
self-taught. Yeah, self-taught.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So I tried to implement more smarter ways to render blocks and so on. Because, for example, let's say we have like 2,000 lines code file, and if we try to render blocks for the entire file, it rendering engine is very slow for it. So finally, I decided to optimize it in a way that it only renders blocks in the current viewport area.
Right.
And also it listens to the scrolling event, and it dynamically changes these rendered blocks. So that's the basic idea. And also there are many many small or large algorithmic deep thinking and big struggle. It was a big struggle. Yeah.
I can only imagine. So I'm curious, does Blockman work with other programming languages besides JavaScript and TypeScript? Could it do Python or Java or some of the other languages that people
Mm,
tend to use?
yeah, sure. Blockman works in many languages. It includes Python, YAML, JavaScript, TypeScript, JSX, TSX, CSS, SCSS, Java, C++, C, C#, and well, actually, yeah, many more. Also, PowerShell script and many more. Yeah. The thing is that I don't have much knowledge about AEST abstract syntax tree and writing, parsing and tokenizing algorithms myself. So I used pre-written libraries for it. So basically I used uh, bracket peer colorizer 2 extension source code for for tokenizing.
I was just gonna say that was like before this. Bracket colorizer is the thing, and then bracket colorizer, oh, it's deprecated. It's deprecated. Nobody's gonna, and you're like, but it's great. I just want
Yeah,
it. Like, why
I
is it
love it.
deprecated? Like,
Well,
Yeah,
VS
the
Code, I
thing
think,
is,
built it in.
I can
is that it?
yeah,
I think so.
I can say a word about it, why it was deprecated. So the thing is the performance. So the bracket peer colorizer 2 had some performance issue, and Blockman uses the same source code. So basically, it has the same performance. But the thing is that Blockman uses debouncing for about 1 second for every re-render on every text change, and I think it's not a deal breaker for many users because already 2 years passed and many people still love it, and still I still receive many amazing and lovely comments from the community. And the basic idea of Blockman is of optimization is debouncing for about 1.2 seconds, and that's it for it, I guess.
listen, if your file's so big that you've got like performance problems on VS Code, maybe split the file up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just a little bit of sanity would be
Jack.
great.
The 10,000 line file needs to stay 10,000 lines.
Paige is like, what about my 10,000 line file?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say though too, like I understand that though, because my editor is the one place where I will not tolerate any delay or any latency, right? Like if I go to do something in my code, like switch a line or do whatever, and it pauses like a second there, like I'm done with that editor, right? Or I'm seeing if there's a problem with it, or I'm like completely like I have no tolerance for that. So like if there are slow extensions, like they are gone immediately. Like I don't even like waste any time. Like unless they're providing like me some absolutely enormous value or they're essential to my workflow. If they slow me down at all, I want nothing to do with them. Right.
The thing is that Blockman doesn't slow down UI or anything else. It just works debouncing for itself. It does not slow anything down. You can type text always. It just optimizes itself. Yeah, that's the idea.
I've just been perusing the code here too. It's interesting because you register a command so that people can toggle it on and off, which is kind of nice because I could totally see like for this sort of extension for me, it's like sometimes I want this, but most of the time I don't, right? Like I kind of like the noise being gone when I'm looking at my code, but like when I need it, right, it's nice to have like something I can reach to say like, oh, I'm opening that file again that's got like all this mess, and like I need my hand held a little bit through this. So I kind of like that as well.
Sure. Blockman has so many commands and so many settings, so many configurations and customizations. Yeah, with colors, nesting depth and maximum depth, and you can turn on off like analyzing curly brackets, square brackets, round brackets, tags, HTML tags, and also indentation, indent tokens of Python and indenting based languages. And I think the biggest problem of Blockman is Python, because actually I had to find a separate parsing library for Python, and It's not well. It works fine in about like 500 or 500 line code, but after that it feels slow. And but many Python developers love it. And well, it's not a deal breaker, I think so. And basically, even still now, I'm still trying to improve Blockman and somehow find another ways, find another solutions to improve it for parsing or rendering and so on and so on. And actually, just several weeks ago or several days ago, I posted another feature request in VS Code GitHub repo, which is about, the thing is that right now VS Code doesn't give extensions access to the AST tokens, abstract syntax tree tokens.
Well, that'd be good if they did. I mean, you could be compatible with everything, and you wouldn't have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's why I had to find third-party libraries for parsing, tokenizing all so many languages, and that's why it feels slower than it should be. Because if the native host already does the tokenizing and parsing, why on earth should I do it twice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So and actually the VS Code team, I think they also like Blockman idea, but I guess they find it like too difficult or too unsafe to expose the native tokens to extensions. And there is, I can link the GitHub repo and the conversation about it, and you can learn more about it if you would like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're implementing Blockman is as just a normal part of VS Code would not be the first extension that has popped up, been really useful and loved by the community, and then the VS Code team just goes and builds it in. So it's very possible that they may end up doing that if it gets popular enough.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, sure.
I hope for my own code to go away at some point, to no longer be needed. I like it.
Right.
That's good.
And also, it's worth noting that it's okay that it's reality that it's based on taste of people. Some people have different taste and they don't like Blockman, and it's okay. It's understandable, sure. But I'm happy that I think most of the people like it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, it definitely
Yeah, I
solves
mean,
a problem.
That's the nice thing about extensions. You add them, you try them out, you decide they're for me or they're not, and you just go on with your development.
Yeah, and some people think that with their taste they don't like Blockman, but because Blockman has so many customizations, for example, they can disable background and just draw borders, or maybe just draw only the focused block. Yeah, as you know, Blockman has a focus feature, so when you click anywhere in the certain block, it focuses on that block. And yeah, it has so many customizations. You can customize colors and so on and so on. And maybe it can fit with your taste. Yeah.
So what kind of features do you see Blockman developing in the future? Like, do you have a product roadmap or things that you'd like to add to it that it doesn't currently support?
I don't have like a specific plan and roadmap right now because in current period of my life, I am more focused on my job and my work and gaining some more experience as a software developer. and from time to time, I go back to my source code and making some updates based on feedback, and so on, some updates, some bug fixes, and so on. Yeah.
What is the open source nature of the project, Ben? You mentioned earlier you got some like good work on that. Have you found it useful to have it open source? Has it been a pain? Like, do you have to deal with just random issues and complaints? What has that experience been like?
So in terms of community and feedback, right?
Yeah.
Actually, feedback. Yeah, sometimes I had like some harsh feedback, like it doesn't work, it's garbage.
Haters.
Yeah.
But it was like less than 1%. Yeah. Most of the experience with feedback at community was so lovely and so amazing, and they helped me so much. With, for example, one developer made a pull request to support SQL language in Blockman. Yeah. And I'm
Oh,
very thankful.
wow.
nice. Yeah, that would help.
Yeah.
You think the curly braces stuff in JavaScript is bad? Although,
So-
I think like a Lisp or something like that. Oh my God, this app might actually somehow get me back into like the Lisp syntax because of all those nested parentheses. I can't even.
Yeah.
So are you open to additional contributors to the repo, or is it mostly you who would prefer to do the development for it?
Well, of course, I'm open to any contributors. Yeah, I believe in the work of community. Yeah.
Nice.
So, what are you looking at in your day job? Then you said you do a lot of Next.js. Like, what is your day job?
Yeah. Basically, I have 2 jobs right now.
Whoa. Okay. And then Blockman.
Yeah. So basically, my work is about React.js, building some educational website, and also I work on backend with Nest.js and TypeScript and so on. Yeah, basically that is my work with some styling, CSS, and yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Cool. So, when you say educational content, it's an educational platform. What are you working on?
It's a startup with some some new ideas about educating children, and we are still working
Awesome.
on it. And yeah,
That's great.
That's very cool.
thank you.
So Levan, let's talk a little bit more about how you made the transition, because it sounds like you were in tech and you were doing software testing and things like that, but do you have any formal like CS degree background, or was it really that you just got into it, you enjoyed it, and you started learning on your own to actually do the coding part of it?
Well, actually, I graduated a bachelor's degree in the University of Georgia and also master's degree in Georgian Technical University. But but it was not the greatest experience in terms of learning development. So I learned it myself. Yeah, that's the idea. And actually, in the Georgian Technical University, I used Blockman as a master's degree project, and they also liked it.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, when I finished building Blockman, I thought, why not use it as a master's degree? It's already done. It's already finished project. So
It's useful. You can talk about it in depth. Absolutely.
it was pretty successful. So yeah.
It is. It really is.
So what kind of advice would you have for people who are either looking to transition into tech or who are looking to build their own extensions? Like, obviously you've had some pretty significant experience in both of those things now. So how would you, what pitfalls would you tell people to avoid, or things to really focus on?
Well, I think the basic part of learning anything, especially like software development, is persistent, like sitting many hours and learning, and not do not give up on the first error you get.
Yes.
That's the idea. And yeah, that's it. You have to you have to be very persistent and very dedicated, and you have to love your work. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to do it.
You know, I think what you probably learned in this is a lot of the persistence skills that you talked about. Like if it doesn't work, I'm going to try to figure out why it doesn't work first. And I'm going to dig into it and see if I can figure it out. And then if that doesn't work, then I eventually might get back to the VS Code team and say, hey, what's up with this? You know, but
when I was building Blockman, at some point, it was, I think it was like several times when I almost gave up because there were some kind of technical difficulties, some kind of technical limitations, and I couldn't solve it for many days. Sometimes 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks, and I thought it was it. Let's give up. But after some rest, several days, and then I went back to the computer and whoa, I can do it. Sometimes the solution just comes in my mind. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in sleeping on it. When you run into a really hard technical problem, like sometimes there's no point. You can just spend hours just staring into your monitor and not accomplish something when lots of times you just walk away and you come back the next day. Sometimes you can, it's amazing how many times I've had that experience where I've spent hours on something and then I figured out the answer in like 2 minutes the next day. It's
totally true.
It's so true. I mean, I can't, like you, TJ, I can't even count the number of times where I've been hacking at something. It keeps not working. I walk away and do something else. The dishes, take a walk, just do something, and suddenly think of another way to try it that I hadn't previously.
Exactly. Yeah. Been there, done that. And I think that actually over time, the cycles get a little bit shorter. Right. In the beginning, it's, it'll take you a couple of days to figure it out. And then, as you get later into your career, it's like, just go on a walk, get some fresh air. You need it anyway. And then you eventually like, oh, right. If I just passed true there, that's what it was, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the other thing is, I think a lot of folks get stuck on not just wanting it to work, but wanting it to be really elegant in the first go. And I think the easiest way to kind of get unstuck is just be like, I don't care what it's going to look like. I'm just going to throw everything at the wall, and then eventually something's going to work. And then when it finally works and I convince myself it can work, then I'll go and just like literally just get reset. And then it's like take the nice clean path that I finally figured out after just blah, that sort of thing. I think there's that old maxim, make it work, make it good, make it fast would be the 3 steps.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So Levan, as you've been getting yourself up to speed and learning to be a developer and things like that, do you have any particular resources that you would say have been really good for you, whether they're like online learning tutorials or websites that you found really useful? Is there anything in particular that you thought has been really, really good for people getting up to speed in coding?
Well, first of all, of course, I would like to say it's the Jack Harrington's YouTube channel.
Thanks.
And basically, I think there are many websites, there are many YouTube channels, and many good resources online on the internet. You just have to, sit down and learn it. Everything is basically for free on the internet, and what you have to do is just sit down and learn. Yeah, that's it. I think so.
I think everybody underestimates how long it's going to take because there's so many companies out there saying 6 months, we're going to have you go from, car mechanic to developer, and man, you're going to be at Google with a hat making, gazillion dollars, and people are like, yeah, sounds great. And you're like, that's not reality. That's not reality at all.
Yeah, basically such companies, such courses and also universities basically gives us some roadmaps, some
Yeah.
So and you have to
You have to do it.
you have to do it. Yeah, just sit down in home and you have to learn it. Yeah, it's your job, not the job of the university to put something in your head.
Right. And you can't just fall back on other people all the time. When you get stuck, part of learning is learning how to unstick yourself, right?
Yeah.
Going through the motions of the debugging. Like, that's one thing that I find often that people get stuck on is like, hey, I ran into this, but what did you try? Like, did you try, or did you just like, you got stuck and then you're like, I'm just going to jump on Discord and start like asking people like, hey, I got this error. What does it mean? I don't know. Read the error. Like, what does it mean? Like, we tried to make errors very self-explanatory.
Yeah, that's the main job, and that's the most important skill of software developer. That is it's finding a solution, finding and solving a problem with yourself or with some in the internet, searching something on the internet, basically finding a solution with any problem. That's the idea. Yeah.
And it's fun. Like, when you get it and it works, you're like, man, I'm Sherlock Holmes. This is great. I've just solved a mystery. Woo.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Bring out Scooby. Let's get some Scooby snacks, whatever.
Well, Levan, it has been a pleasure to talk to you today. Is there anything that we have not really commented on or covered yet that you'd like to, whether it's Blockman or something else that you're working on?
Well, I don't have anything much in my mind right now. Actually, I have some other ideas for other projects, but as I said, currently I'm more focused on improving myself with my job and just gaining some experience, and maybe some other ideas of myself is going to be built, I guess, so, and going to be successful, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to share those ideas with us and our listeners right now, is what you're saying.
It's not fully structured, so I cannot talk much about it.
Fair enough. Well, when you do build those extensions or those web apps or whatever they happen to be, we'll be happy to have you on to tell us all about them then.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thanks so much.
So if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to contribute to Blockman, or if they want to talk to you about anything else, where are the best places to reach you online?
Well, they can just visit the official page of Blockman, and they can see the links of my YouTube channel or my LinkedIn or many other social networks. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, this is the part of the show where we're going to move into picks, and these could be TV shows that we're watching, books that we're reading, gadgets that we've found that we like. So, Jack, would you like to kick us off this week with a pick?
Sure. I have a command line tool. If you are on Mac and OS X, there's a thing you can brew install called NCDU. And so it's just brew install NCDU, and it gives you like an interactive disk usage display where you can just say, oh, okay, wow, I didn't know I had like 18 gigs in this cache file over here. It's great. I mean, honestly, you get like a 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, machine, and you're like, well, I'll never fill that up. And then next thing you know, like 6 months later, you're like, wow, I need to clean a lot of stuff off. So this helps with that. And it helps find those little hidden corners that software tends to jam stuff into. And you're like, whoa, it's taking up 180 gigs. Are you kidding me? Kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. Always need stuff like that to clean up, or at least to show you where the junk is hidden on your machine.
There's another one also called that you use MPX on. MPX. So this, I guess, would work on Windows as well. So for the Windows folks, MPX and then NPKill, MPKILL, and it's just for node modules. It's just the same thing, but it's just for node modules. So if you've got like a ton of random side projects around, it'll say, hey, you got 20 gigs in this this node module over here, and those are big. I mean, node modules. Any React project is gonna have a couple gigs worth of node modules, which is crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Nice. I've heard of that one before, and I've even heard that people have set up processes so if something isn't opened for 30 days or a certain amount of time, it'll actually just delete the node modules out of the project for you. But that would
That I'd
be
like.
that's a good one.
Yeah, big time. Oh yeah.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. So, TJ, what do you have for us this week?
Oh man, I just installed NCDU. It's running right now. It's
Oh,
scanning,
yeah.
so I'll have to report back. I'm curious what it's like. This would be a fun one to run at like the coffee shop because it's very matrixy. It looks like I'm doing something
right.
Very
oh wow, look
complex
what
or
I'm doing.
important
It's
right
very
now.
cool. Yeah.
But my pick this week is going to be Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which was really good. We saw it this weekend, and it's a really good movie because it found the right balances. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It kind of just has fun with the Dungeons and Dragons IP and such. It's funny. You don't have to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just sort of casually aware of that sort of universe, and I had no trouble following along. So they did a really good job. It was a good movie. Highly recommended.
Nice. Very nice. Levan, do you have something that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you will check out my my creation, the VS Code extension Blockman, and hope you will like it. Yeah.
Very good. Self-plug and promotion all at the same time.
There you go. Exactly. Shameless plug. I love it.
Exactly. So my pick this week is going to be a series that's called The Mayor of Kingstown, and it recently just came out with its second season. It's on Paramount Plus in the US if you're streaming through that. And it's great because Jeremy Renner, who is Hawkeye in all the Marvel movies, is the star of it. And it's very, very different than that, though. It's about a town in Michigan that is kind of like gang central. It's cops versus prisons versus the gangs on the streets. And it's trying to keep the peace between all three of those different factions who all have their own goals. So it's really interesting to see, and very well acted. The drama is great. So if you're looking for kind of a grittier series, I would definitely say it's worth a try.
I will definitely do that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Levan, it has been so great having you on the show today. Thank you for joining us on React Roundup, and we will see everybody next week.